Hey guys, it's Courtney here from flynnknit, and today I'm going to show you how to make and attach fringe to any project that you might be working on. To get started, we'll need the yarn we're going to make our fringe with, a pair of scissors, a tape measure to measure the length of our pieces of fringe, or you can also use a cardboard cutout that is cut to the length that you would like your fringe to be, and also a crochet hook to help us attach the fringe at the end. So we're going to start by cutting pieces of fringe that are roughly double the length of what we want our actual fringe to be, because we're going to be looping these pieces in half. And so I'm going to be working with 6-inch fringe. So I'm cutting about 12.5 to 13-inch pieces to account for some wiggle room when we attach the fringe and kind of trim it up at the end. Any length that might be lost, I just like to cut a little extra so I make sure my fringe still stays at about 6 inches. So one way to do this is just lay out a tape measure, grab your scissors, and cut that 13-inch piece, okay? From there, you can determine how many pieces you want in each section of your fringe. So if I want, say, 3 or 4 pieces per fringe section, you can just use that first piece you cut as like a little template and then continue cutting pieces to the same length until you get your desired amount of pieces for each section. Another way to create fringe is to use a cardboard cutout that is cut to the length that you want your fringe to be. So this is 6 inches long, and what you do is just grab your yarn, and I leave a little extra draped over the bottom to account for that wiggle room I like to have, and then I'm going to drape it over that cardboard cutout, so that creates a roughly 13-inch piece by the time I have that little extra. And then we can keep going very loosely because you don't want to pull too tight, otherwise that yarn is going to spring up when you cut it. But I've got 1 piece, now 2 pieces. Let's do 3 strands here. And again, I want to just make sure I have some slack. And then when you've wrapped a few times, you can just cut it off the bottom, and then you make 1 cut through those bottom strands, and then you've done 3 pieces a little more quickly maybe than cutting them individually. So this is another option if you want to try it this way. So I have my little garter stitch swatch here, and this is what I'm going to be attaching my fringe to. So you just grab your pieces of fringe that you've cut, and I like to kind of loop my finger through the top end and just fold them in half as best you can. And then you grab your crochet hook, and starting at one end or wherever you would like to attach your fringe, you can use that crochet hook to come up through the bottom and place it wherever you want to have that fringe attached. And then you simply grab those strands that are looped together and go ahead, gotta get some tension on there, and pull them through. Then you can remove that crochet hook and simply stick your fingers through that looped end and grab the tails of that yarn and pull it through the loop, and then pull on it a little more tightly, gentle tug there, to get it fastened to your piece. So then you're just going to repeat the process using the next section of pre-cut pieces of fringe in, again, however many pieces you want. So I've got 3, you could have 4, 5, 6, whatever you want. And you're just going to space it out the way you would like to space it on the edge of your piece. So if you want it really close, you're going to come up with that crochet hook very close to the last fringe that you attached. I'm going to go through the same way, pull that through. Don't need that crochet hook anymore. Grab through your fingers there, grab all those little strands of yarn, and then gently tighten that. So mine is quite dense here. I'm going right next to the other. You could have space in between, however you want to do it. And we're just going to keep going on until we finish attaching all of our fringe, and I'll meet you back here. All right, so I've attached all of my sections of fringe here, and you can tell that the bottom is a bit scraggly, right? So I like to wait until the end because you can get a better visual, an overall visual on how that's gonna look, where you come back in with your scissors and just start at one end or the other and start cutting a line using your scissors to kind of straighten out that bottom edge. So this is one way to trim up that fringe, and I'm gonna meet you back here and show you another way. So another way to get very straight fringe is to invest in one of these rotary cutters and a mat that goes along with it. I bought this as a set for less than $30 at a local craft store. Probably not something you want to invest in unless you're cutting a lot of fringe, but it is really cool and helpful to work with. So this mat is super cool because it's got all these lines where you can lay your project down and know you're cutting in a straight line. So I'm just gonna lay this fringe on top of here and maybe use this second line here as my cutting edge line guide. Lay out that fringe as best I can. And then you just start at one end, and I'm gonna follow this line, and it's harder for you guys to see, but I can see parts of the line poking through. You just get that rotary cutter right on the line, and it's like a little pizza cutter, and you just go through all those pieces until you get to the end, and woo-hoo-hoo, look at that. So that's just another way to do it. And I hope that either way you choose, whether it's scissors or if you want to invest in a little set like this, that this tutorial was helpful in letting you learn how to make and attach fringe. Follow me on Instagram at flynnknit to see what I'm working on next.